I got a question for you. Are you willing to give it all to God? It's a great story. It's a famous story in the Bible. This was in my Bible app this morning, or podcast that I listened to. I'm going to be sharing that podcast on Instagram. It is a Catholic a priest that runs it, Father Mike, and I really liked how in-depth it is. A lot of times, Protestant churches sometimes, and I know I'm broad listing, so please, don't feel like I'm blasting your church. I go to a Protestant church. But we have to be very careful. We're really starting to water down the message. And what I mean by that is does every story need to be fire and brimstone, you're going to go to hell? No, because the greater part of the Bible is more about God's love than it is about fire and brimstone. It is a story of love. And sometimes it's tough love, but it's love. So with that said, are you willing to give it all? In our podcast this morning that I'm listening to, it talked about Job. And Job was the best of the best followers. And Satan asked God, basically, do you really trust him? Will he continue to follow you, even if he lost everything? You've given him all of this. Imagine this guy. He's like Elon Musk. He's got this big business. He's got wives. He's got camels. He's got sheep. He's got mansions. He's got everything that he needs there. He is the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos of his day. And God said, basically dared him to challenge Job. Now, I gotta admit a little bit, I was kind of put off by that. That God's just like, yep, screw over my boy. Let's see what happens. I bet it's kind of like I kind of felt God gave the vibe of the little boy and the devil went down to Georgia. I was really into it, but I'm really kind of like, man, you really put Job on the line there. Well, as it goes on, the devil comes in and he takes away the camels, and it's like, oh man, the sheep. Oh man, that stinks. All the crops. I've had some bad crops. I've lost some animals. I'm not a perfect farm. I'm like, that's doable. And then it kind of really started to hit home. Then he lost his home. And imagine your home is gone. There's a fire. It's gone. It's done. And then with that, the final nail on the coffin, literally and physically, he loses his children. Now, I'm a parent of 6 kids. That's really difficult for me. I love my kids. I love my wife, my kids. I would give anything just about to keep them healthy, to keep them safe. But what if God said, I'm going to take away your kids? And I think you almost have to hang in there with me. We have to live like that each and every day. At some point in time, we have to give our kids to God. And what I mean by that is we cannot control every outcome that goes on in our society. And, we can do our best part of being a parent, about putting them in the right situations, being in the right places, hanging with the right crowd, working hard to achieve things, not, out getting into shenanigans. There's lots of things that we want to instill in our kids. But what about all the other X factors? I saw on the news the other day on, it doesn't matter what news channel, but a deputy a deputy was flying through at 85 miles an hour chasing a guy who stole a car. Two teenage girls, which I have a girl about their age and I have a son their age. These two girls were just on their way home. They had absolutely nothing to do with the situation. They did not know the person. They did not know the officer. They had nothing to do with that other than they were in the intersection while this officer was flying through. Did not even brake. And I'm not judging the officer. I wasn't there. I don't know the situation. That's not what I'm going to discuss. That's politics or whatever for another day. But what I'm saying is in that moment, God took those two young ladies. And they still had futures. They still had college to go to, proms, boyfriends, marriage, kids, successful careers. They could have potentially been the next Jeff Bezos or whoever. So, in that moment, even though the parents probably did everything right in the world, they still lost their children. And I don't know if I were to be honest, if I would react in the way that Job reacted. So how did Job react? Job reacted by stripping off his clothes, his garments, and he laid down on the ground, he kneeled, and he worshiped God. Worshiped God. And it just took me a moment to really wrap my brain around this. What happens when something like that happens in our lives? We go through quite a bit. I've had friends who've lost really close loved ones, including their children. And I have a good friend who lost his daughter at, she was young, probably in her younger 20s. Beautiful young lady. Had everything going on in life. Would I worship in the same way that Job worshipped? And it's a big testament to where Job was at in his faith. And I think in our day-to-day lives, not that it should come down to life or death, but we should be spending more of that mentality of giving it over to God. God's going to take care of it. Whatever God has in store, God has in store. And there's a certain level of there's nothing I can do about it. I just want to challenge you in your faith to really put yourself out there, to put things in God's hands. I don't understand why God does the things that he does. I'd be the first one to tell you that I've struggled in my faith. In fact, I spent almost just short of 10 years being an atheist. Absolutely frustrated with God. I grew up in the church. My dad was a First Baptist pastor. It was difficult. And the people of the church are not always nice. In fact, the worst, I hate to say this, but sometimes the worst, I won't say it sometimes, I'll say the worst part about church can be the people. And that's very difficult. And it took me a long time to really understand that just because they are bodies inside of a building does not make them the church. Being a part of the church is being active. It's constantly seeking God. That's the church. It's love. It's relationships. It's people pushing to be better. It's not that this person said this person said that. It's taken a long time to get there. But what I'm getting at is, now that I'm building my faith back and really understanding God and really diving deeper into God, am I willing to worship at that level? And am I willing to give up the day-to-day X factor, if you will, to God. And I think there's something there in that in every single day. But I had a great run. I get to listen to about 1 to 2 episodes a day. This morning's run was super difficult. It was freezing cold for Mississippi, so the Northerners will probably laugh at me. It was the greater part of like 42 to 45 degrees this morning. I don't have a lot of winter clothes. I have a hoodie. You know, it doesn't really get hot, it doesn't get super cold here. We might get one little quick blast, which we've already had one this year. But relatively, it stays in the 50s here, so it's not a big deal. But this morning, that cold air was burning my chest, and it was just a difficult morning. But I got in, I did it, I made it happen, and I feel so much better. Again, I just want to encourage you, 2023 is a new year. Whatever you had going on in 2022, it's done. Whatever you felt wronged you in 2022, leave it in 2022. Whatever you felt held you back, release that. Be free. 2023 is here, and this can be your year. In fact, I believe it's going to be your year. I'm going to speak into your life. Just know that people love you. People care. I care. Dr. J cares. And we're really looking forward to a great 2023. Again, our motto, and I firmly believe it, God's placed it in my heart, 2023, for my personal life, and I really believe for our podcast as well, the key word is community. And you just need to know that there's a community that's there for you, that cares, that loves you, and is willing to give the shirt off their back for you. So be loved, be blessed, have a great week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the podcast. I've got a great guest today. I'm super excited about it. A great young man. And we've just got so much stuff coming on. The guy we're recording with on Sunday, he's been on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. He's awesome. So if you're really, he's a person who helps build wealth. And I'm not going to give away his secret. He's going to come and talk to us about how to build yourself and how to build your business. And we're going to get better together. So looking forward to these releases and all of this great time. We'll see you again on the next Chef's Vlog.